We have reached 10,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Thanks to all of you for subscribing, sharing, and commenting on the videos. And this really motivates me into putting more time and effort in creating new videos. So thank you. I have also started my Patreon page, so if you would like to support the channel by leaving a donation, you can find a link to my Patreon page in the description of the video below. Today I'm going to talk about one of the topics that was requested the most from me on the YouTube channel. And this is the automatic account determination for material management. So when we post any inventory movement or any material movement, the financial entries are posted automatically in SAP. So how does it work? And how can we configure this on SAP S/4HANA? This is what I'm going to explain and demonstrate on the system today. As usual, in order to understand any process in the system, we have to start with the business process and the business requirement. So let's assume we have a small trading company and we buy two types of products, tables and shares, and then we sell them in the local market. So we only have two types of products, and we also have three transaction types that we do to our inventory. The first one is when we buy the products, we do a goods receipt. So when we do a goods receipt, we receive the product into our warehouse. The second one we do is a goods issue to a sales order when we sell the tables and the chairs. The third one is if we have a damaged product, so we have a damaged chair or a damaged table and we cannot sell them, in this case we scrap them. So we do a goods issue to a cost center to an expense account. So now let's look into the different financial entries we want to see in the system with every transaction and with every product type. So for goods receipt, for example, we will create a purchase order and then we post a goods receipt. The goods receipt financial entry will be debit to the inventory account and the credit to the GRIR account. And we also want to have separate accounts for tables and chairs. So we have separate inventory account and separate GRIR account for every product type. Now the second financial entry is when we do a goods issue to a cost center for scrapping. In this case, the debit will be to an expense account that will be the same in both cases, and the credit will be the inventory account that is assigned to the product type also. Now for the third transaction, the goods issue to a sales order, we will create a sales order and then we post a goods issue of the product, and in this case we have a debit to cost of goods sold and a credit to the inventory account. I don't have any business requirement to have two separate cost of goods sold accounts, so I will have only one cost of goods sold account for the two products. But for the inventory account, it has to be different for every product type. Now these are the financial entries, and as you see, they are different and the GL account determination is different based on two main factors. The first one is the transaction we do, and the second is the type of the product, or the material master data. So if we look into the different transactions, SAP identifies the different transactions we do to our inventory based on movement types. So a movement type is a technical field we have in the system. It has 3 digits, so it can be 111, 223, for example, so 3 numbers. And this field, this is how SAP identifies what we are doing to the product, whether we are doing a goods issue, a goods receipt, a scrapping, or anything. So SAP identifies the different transactions based on the movement type. So the movement type is one of the most important configuration objects in material management, and it's also one of the most complicated ones. So the movement type is a part of material management configuration, and we will also have a look on this in the demonstration today. Now, if we look into the second factor, the different product types. So for every product, we have a material master data. So for every chair, for every table, we have a material master data. Inside the material master data, there is a field in the accounting view. This field is the valuation class. So the valuation class is only a number. It is a 4-digit number, like 3000, for example. This is a very simple field that we use in the configuration along with the movement type to assign the different GL accounts. So SAP will identify which GL accounts are related to the product using the valuation class, and which GL account is related to the transaction using the movement type. So when we put the transaction, the movement type, and the valuation class next to each other, we can know which GL account we want to post to. Now let's go into the system and see how this happens exactly and how can we configure this process. The demo I'm doing today is on SAP S/4HANA 1909, And the same will apply to any SAP version, even the ECC. And if you find that I am explaining something quickly, then you should know that I have already explained it in another video before. So if there is anything you don't understand, then try to check the other videos I have on my YouTube channel. And you can also leave me a comment on the video on YouTube, and I will help if I can. Now I will start by displaying the material master data, so MM03. So we can see where we can maintain the valuation class. So I have created two materials, A001 and A002. One of them is tables, the other one is chairs. So I'm going to display this one. And the evaluation class is in accounting one view. So I'm going to deselect everything and select only the accounting one, okay? Plant is A001, AA01. So this is the valuation class in the accounting one view in the material master data. And if I open the available values, you can see that we only have one valuation class now, 7920 finished goods. Now I'm going to create two new valuation classes for the tables and the chairs, and then we can select them in the material master data here. So how to configure valuation classes? Now I will switch to the configuration screens, so /O, SPRO. And the configuration of the account determination for material management is under material management, valuation and account assignment, account determination, and then we have two options, account determination with a wizard or without a wizard. They are both the same. The first one, SAP will help you to follow the steps. The second one, you will do them manually. So I will follow the second one so I can show you the configuration. And I will start with defining a valuation class. Now, we have three screens here, account category reference, valuation class, material type, category reference. I will start with the last one. So now here you see that we assign an account category reference to every material type. What is a material type? A material type is a mandatory field that you have to select whenever you create a new material master data, and it is a very important configuration object in material management. It controls many things. So if I go back to my material master data, so switch and click here, you can see that the material type is FERT, finished product. So this is the material type of my material. And I had to choose this when I created the material master data. So for the FERT, if we go back to configuration, FERT, we have account category reference 0009. This is a very simple configuration object. It's only a number that we use in order to connect the valuation classes with the material type. And we will see how this works now. So FERT is 0009. Let's go back. Now I will go into valuation classes. So for every valuation class, I have to assign an account category reference also. So I will create two new valuation classes now, and I will assign them to 0009. So this way, when we open the material master data for an FERT material type, we can see the linked valuation classes. So this is how we link certain valuation classes to certain material types. So I will create two new entries. So 3101, and this one will be 0009, and 3102, and also 0009. So the first one will be tables, and the second one will be chairs. Save. Now I will switch back to the material master data, and I will change to the material change screen, because this one we can only display the material. So I will switch to change, so /n mm02, and the same material, deselect and select only accounting. Plant is A01, and the valuation class, if I open the available values now, we have three values. We have 3101, 3102, and 7920. So now we have created two new valuation classes, and we assigned them to the material type. This is why we can see them here. This is a very configuration step, as you see, a very simple configuration step. So this one is chair. I'm going to choose 3102, save. And for my other material, the table, This one will be 3101. 3101. So now I have created two material master data, and I have assigned two different valuation classes. Now I'm going to assign the GL accounts to the valuation classes, and then we can test and see how this will be reflected in the system. So this is our first configuration object, the valuation class. Second is assigning the movement types to the valuation classes and GL account. So how can we link the movement type to a GL account? Let's go back to the configuration screens. Back, and let's go back. So after define valuation class in the same menu, we have define account grouping for movement type. Let's open this. So here you can find all the movement types configured on the system. And as you see, we cannot create new movement types here. There is no new entry. Why? Because again, movement type is one of the most important configuration objects in material management. It controls many things, not only the account determination. So we cannot create a new movement type here. If you want to create a new movement type, there are other screens and there are other configuration steps that have to be done by the material management consultant. For us here, we can only see the movement types that are already created. And by the way, we rarely create new movement types in any SAP project. Usually, the movement types we have are already enough to cover all the business processes. These are configured by standard by SAP. And also, as you can see here, many of the fields we cannot even change. So although I am in the change mode, change view, I cannot change many of the values here. These are standard configuration items that we cannot change. So this is why in any project, we normally don't change anything in this screen. It's important to understand how it works somehow, but generally we'd never change anything. And whenever we create a new movement type, we usually create it by copying an existing one, because a movement type is a complicated configuration object. So this is all I can tell you about this screen. If you try to understand the value string or the transaction event key, you'll not find many documentation available. All what we can do here is understand how to assign the GL account to any of them. So if you open the SAP documentation here, SAP is explaining what is the meaning of the different values inside and how to assign them to GL accounts. So you can go ahead and read this documentation, and also from here you can branch to other configuration help documents by clicking here, overview of account grouping. If you click, it will take you to another document. So I'm not going to change anything in this screen, and this is how a movement type is assigned to an account grouping and account modification, which we will use in the last screen with the valuation class to assign a GL account. So now we have the valuation classes and we have the movement types. Last thing is we configured the automatic postings. So whenever you open the transaction, you will find this screen. You can cancel. And here we have two important options. We have account assignment and simulation. So account assignment is where you are going to configure the GL accounts. This is where we will enter the GL accounts for the different criteria that we will see now. And this one you can use to simulate the configuration to be sure that you configure the correct accounts. And this is a very important thing, because otherwise you will have to run a complete business process on the system to check the different financial entries, and this will take a lot of time. But if you click on simulation, you can simulate the configuration and see the financial entries without having to run a complete business process. And by the way, this is only available in transaction OMWB. If you open OBYC, which we all use, it will take you directly to account assignment and you cannot go to simulation. So simulation is only available in OMWB. So the transaction is like this, OMWB. So now I will go to account assignment to configure the GL accounts. And this will take me to OBYC, by the way. So this is transaction code OBYC. And I should configure the different GL accounts here. So for example, let's take BSX. For every line you choose, you can assign for the valuation class and the transaction key, you can assign a GL account. Now, the transaction keys are standard and configured already by SAP, and we do not change them. We cannot create new entries here. So how do I know which GL account is assigned in which key? This can be confusing. This is why this is one of the configuration steps that takes a lot of time usually. So if you go back, and again, I'm going to use the SAP help documentation next to the configuration activity. So click here. In this document, SAP is explaining where to maintain every GL account. So which account modification to use in order to maintain every GL account. So if I go down, now as I explained in the presentation, we have three cases. We have goods receipt for purchase order, we have goods issue for a cost center for scrapping, and we have goods issue for a sales order. So I'm going to look where I can maintain the GL accounts for these three cases. So the first thing is maintaining the balance sheet inventory account. This is the main account that we use in all our financial entries. So if we go back to presentation here, where can we maintain this account, the inventory tables or the inventory chairs? Let's see. So go back and let's look for where to maintain the inventory posting accounts. So go down. Of course, by experience, you get to know where to maintain everything, but usually when you forget, you can check this document. So stock postings is maintained in BSX. So BSX is the transaction is used for all postings to stock account. And you can see some examples. So this is where we are going to maintain our inventory accounts. Now, the second thing is the GRIR account. GRIR is maintained in WRX. So if I go down to the end of the list, here I have GRIR clearing for material ledger, and I have GRIR clearing. This is the one. So GRIR clearing, WRX, postings to the GRIR clearing occur in the case of goods and invoice receipts against a purchase order. So this is where we are going to maintain the GRIR. Third one is the goods issue against a cost center. So the consumption account for the scrapping. This one you can find in GBB. So let's go back. So this list is alphabetical, which means it goes A, B, C, D. So here we have L, P, P, R. If we go up, we can find GBB. So offsetting entry for stock postings. This one has multiple options inside. So for example, goods issue for sales order is under VAX. So this is where we maintain the cost of goods sold. If we go down, for consumption from stock of material provided for vendors VBO, we don't need this one. We have for internal goods issue to a cost center, VBR. So VBR we will use for the scrapping, VAX we'll use for cost of goods sold. So now we have all our accounts. We have the inventory, we have the cost of goods sold, the GRIR, and the consumption account. Let's go to the screen and configure them one by one. Configure automatic postings, cancel, account assignment. So I will start with BSX. So double click here. Now we have the valuation class and the transaction and the GL account. So these are the two objects. The one is linked to the material, the other is linked to the movement type, and we have the GL account. Now before we go into creating a new entry here, you should understand how this screen works. So if you go to rules, this is also something we can configure. You can tell SAP how you want to determine the GL account. So for example, if I uncheck the valuation class, this way I'm telling SAP that I will have only one GL account for all the valuation classes. So in the screen outside, I don't want to see a valuation class because the same GL account will be used for all the valuation classes. This is not the case here. Here we have a different GL account for every valuation class. And we will use this in another screen today also, so we can see it. And valuation modification, so you are telling SAP that I may have different GL accounts based on valuation modification. And this I will explain in another video. So for now, we have the valuation class selected, and also you can select whether we want a different account for debit and credit. Of course, this is not the case here because the inventory account will be the same in debit and credit. So this one is dimmed because BSX is a standard SAP transaction. We cannot change this one. But for other transactions, we can change. So now I will go back to the accounts. And here, so for the valuation modification, the valuation class, we have the different accounts. So I will add my two valuation classes, 3101 and 3102. And I have created two GL accounts for this. So this one This one is inventory chairs. So this one is inventory tables, and the other one too. This one is inventory chairs. Okay, so now I added my two valuation classes here, 3101 and 3102, and the different GL accounts. Save. Now let's go to the second one. So after BSX, we have the GRIR account, which is under WRX. So let's go to WRX. So now for WRX, we don't have a valuation modification here, if you see. Why? Because in the rules, this one is not selected. And also for GRIR, we can have different accounts for debit and credit. So if I select this, I can choose different debit and credit accounts. But for the valuation classes, we have different GL accounts. That's why this one is checked. So let's go back. And I'm going to add my two GL accounts. So now I added the two GRIR accounts. Save. Go back. Now next we have the cost of goods sold and the consumption to a cost center. So the consumption to a cost center, both of them are under GBB. So let's go back to GBB here. And these are the different modifications. So we have VAX. This one is for cost of goods sold. So I'm going to add two new lines for VAX and save. And VBR. So this is the one, copy. And I will keep the consumption account the same for both of them. So this is the first entry, the second entry, 3102, and save. So now I have maintained all the general ledger accounts I want for my financial entries. Goods receipt, goods issued to a cost center, goods issued for a sales order. And let's go back. Now I'm going to run the simulation. So here you can enter the plant, the material, and the movement type. And SAP will tell you which accounts will be used for the posting. So I will start with 101, goods receipt for a purchase order, then double click on goods receipt and click on account assignments. So for AA01, our plant, and for material A002, we will have posting to this account for inventory posting. So this is our inventory account that we configured. And for GRIR, we will have a posting to this account. So everything is okay. Now let's move to the second movement type. So the other one is 201, which is goods issued to a cost center. So this one will go to a consumption account, which is this, and the credit will be to our inventory account, this one. Now for the last movement type, which is a goods issue for a sales order or a delivery, this is movement type 601, enter. So the setting entry for inventory account will go, which is VAX, the cost of goods sold account, will be this one. And the inventory account, inventory posting, will be this one. So now everything is all right. So this is exactly what we configured. Everything is working as expected. So this is how you do the account determination for material management in SAP. Of course, in a real project, you will have more movement types and more business processes, and you will have to analyze them one by one and do the same steps. Thank you for watching. Let me know if you have any questions or any comments in YouTube or in LinkedIn. If you have any suggestions for the coming videos, or if you want me to add anything else, let me know. Thank you for watching, and thank you for supporting the channel, and I will see you again soon. Thank you.